You don't have to spend very long on the internet until someone says, just start. But what do they mean? So I've taken that amorphous, abstract word like start or that phrase just start and operationalized it. I've repackaged it as an acronym and added tactics that I've learned over the last 15 years working in graphic design, branding, and advertising. Okay, so we're going to go through this little deck just to keep us on track. It's called How to Start. We're going to start at the beginning with the first letter, which is the letter S, which stands for stay curious. When you first start anything, it's easy to get excited. There's so much opportunity, future, fortune, and adventure to be had that it's easy to get stuck in that loop. If curiosity did kill the cat, then it OD'd on the feeling of what about this? Like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? But unfortunately, that feeling doesn't last. Eventually, the honeymoon period of the idea does end. If you work in any kind of business that's creative or anything that's commercial, I'm sure you probably describe yourself as like, oh, I'm a problem solver. I like solving problems. And that is true to a degree. But I actually think, especially at the beginning, I think we like solving little pieces of lots of different problems on a constant, almost refreshing situation. Yeah, novelty is definitely a thing. Like we want to be pushed, so we want that difficulty. We want to know that there's something in it. We want that opportunity, but we do also want that novelty. And those three, they do make a pretty strong Venn diagram. But novelty is, especially in the world we live in, is the big one that can often be like, what about that? Oh, what's that shiny object over there? It's easy to be curious about new stuff. Like there's nothing special there. Like it's just how the world is, and there's a lot of new stuff to be curious about. So the important word here, at least for me, is stay curious, because it's that sustained ability to look at something and still be interested in it, even when, to be honest, it's a bit boring. There's some weird ability to be both curious and bored of the same subject at the same time, which is when I think that's when you are onto a winner. Because it's the clunky, everyday, kind of in the weeds, unglamorous, unfashionable, uncool problems that you really have to be like, wow, oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, wow, that bit. Because on the other side of those quite boring problems is actually quite a lot of kind of wonderment, is the only way I can put it. But they are definitely dressed up like very boring problems. And if you haven't got any kind of roots or ability to stay focused, stay curious, keep kind of progressing, it's very easy to be like, oh, that's a bit boring. Let's go over there and look at that shiny new lovely thing over there. Because let's contextualize it. I mean, from a branding perspective, I can probably solve in 95% of your problems that you're struggling with, or at the very least, put you on a path to the general direction of what the specific goal you're trying to achieve. But it's the surrounding things of running a agency or building a business that I have to remain curious about, because what's in my wheelhouse is very different to what is in the thing I'm building. We always start off with something that we're good at, and then it's the outer rings where the real kind of you have to become very curious about that stuff and stay curious through the boredom, through the schlep, through the long kind of unglamorous, unfun stuff. I think it's that sustained curiosity that over time really moves the needle, to be honest. Like the ability to stay curious when you are also at the same time painfully bored. Yeah, I think that's there's nothing like curiosity with a good old fashioned dose of boredom, to be honest. So before I start anything, I really like to only choose a subject that I've stayed curious about through a couple of cycles of like shiny object syndrome, or where I've kind of looked at something and then gone like, and then it's stuck in the back of my head. And I keep seeing it's what I'm watching on YouTube, it's what I'm reading, it's the things I'm downloading, it's the lead magnets I'm signing up to, it's the stuff I'm watching, where I'm spending my time or putting my attention on. Like if I'm the sustained curiosity about in that department, then that's when I know that it's a good thing to maybe think about starting or at least exploring further. So, to you, what have you stayed curious about? What has been like a sustained level of curiosity throughout your algorithm for some time? And what subjects have you continued to ask questions about? And as a good rule of thumb, whatever you're reading, consuming, looking at, taking in, absorbing, whatever your algorithm is showing you is probably what you're curious about. Now, whether or not that's commercially viable or not is another story, but at least it's a good starting point, is to follow your curiosity in the beginning. Okay, next letter in start is the letter T, and that stands for take risks. Okay, so to define terms and just to clarify what I mean by risk, it doesn't mean that you have to take risk with your rent or with your financials or with any kind of like high leverage things like your employment or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But little risks like uploading a video about something that you've struggled with to help somebody on the other side of the world that you haven't met and don't know. But a little risk, for instance, like uploading a video talking about, but a little risk, a tiny little nudge in the, but for instance, a small risk, like a little nudge in the right direction, where say you upload a video about a framework that's really helpful, or a system that you've created in your workflow, or something that you care passionately about that you upload to the internet with no idea who's going to watch it, or with just a vague hope that you want to help somebody you've never met on the other side of the world. That is a little bit of a risk. Putting yourself out there, that is a little bit of a risk, and those are the kind of risks we're talking about. Like YouTube isn't my skill set. I'm not used to being in front of the camera. I hated the first 20 videos, 20, 30 videos. Now we're on maybe 40, 50. And I'm like, just starting to feel a little nugget of, oh, okay, this is quite interesting. But I've had that sustained curiosity about YouTube. And especially now that YouTube is a bit more, you can build a business around it, or you can help it to inform your business. Like I really like that. I also really like sharing some of the stuff I've learned. But that curiosity hasn't gone away. So now I'm kind of prepared to take a couple of risks. And yeah, uploading a video is awful, but that is a risk that I'm prepared to take to solve a problem that I care about. Now, obviously, when it comes to risk, there's no guaranteed reward. But if you do take a risk, like a small risk, you will find it rewarding. To just invert it slightly, that phrase, I enjoy having written. I enjoy having written. Well, you will have enjoyed taking risks, or you will have enjoyed trying, is a good razor to kind of frame this idea around. And also, if you're not prepared to take little risks, like for instance, uploading a video, publishing a bit of content, writing an article, doing something that puts you out there in a way that maybe you haven't shown up before, or puts you in an environment where you haven't been in before, then if you're not prepared to do that, then you don't care enough about the thing. So I would keep looking, because if you're curious about something, and that curiosity should lead you, it should compound over time and start to make you kind of excited or willing to kind of tumble down the rabbit hole a little bit. And that requires a little bit of skin in the game. That requires a little bit of effort, and they would manifest as tiny little risks. So it's a good bit of signal. And again, the important word here is take, because it's you that has to take the risk. You have to kind of wrench it out of reality. No one's going to do it for you. If you want to kind of do something, you have to kind of take it and wrench it into reality. Because if you're not taking the risk, then is it really a risk, to be honest? Okay, moving on. Next letter is A, and that stands for ask for help. Now, when it comes to the business of creativity or anything commercial, chances are that there is someone out there that has done it before. There is someone out there that has done what you're trying to do, and I recommend that you go and find them. Because ultimately, if you do find them, they will tell you how they did it. They might not tell you specifically, they might not jump on a call with you, but they will have written about it, spoken about it, made videos about it, had interviews about it, had films made about them about it. There will be information, there will be things that you can take into your brain and learn from. This is a video about things that I've struggled with, repackaged to hopefully help you out. If you read Shoe Dog, then that's the founder's account of what it takes to build a business like Nike. The bloke chatting shit about lead gen, or whoever talking about how to have confidence on camera, or how to write good copy, is also them kind of telling you what you need to hear, but it's just the algorithm is helping. You're asking the algorithm in that context. So when I say ask for help, It doesn't necessarily mean, getting on the blower and calling up the CEO of whatever and being like, "Hi, can I jump on a 15-minute discovery call with you?" Probably not going to work. But if you repackage it, you can find the help in media, for want of a better phrase. Because to be honest, anybody who's contributed anything to change the world has written a book about it, spoken about it, done a million podcasts about it, and loads of interviews with loads of articles about it. And you can also ask for help from dead people in the form of books. Obviously, you still have to kind of read through it and take what ideas work for you, take ideas what don't, whatever's applicable, that's part of the work. But if you have a Wi-Fi connection, there's nothing really holding you back. And I think libraries are still free last time I checked. Now, if you do ask for help and you can't find help for what you're looking for, now that would probably be a good sign that it is probably not commercially viable as an idea, or for want of a phrase, it's probably not a good idea. So I'll probably not do that. Obviously, I work in branding, I work in commercial creativity. There is a business to creativity, to how I approach creative. If you just want to do something for the sake of doing it, that is just self-expression and art, and that's completely fine. But don't be upset if no one wants it or wants to buy it, because the commercial aspect of creativity means that you need to be solving a problem or contributing value to somebody or a group of people. That is just stakes for the table, I'm afraid. Now, obviously, if you are having lunch with Peter Thiel and the PayPal mafia, then maybe you've got some runway or some capital or some investments to be able to take a few swings and potentially miss. And chances are, if you're watching this, you're not in those conversations. So I would, if you ask around and you can't find help, then chances are that's enough signal to tell you that the idea isn't worth pursuing. You want a growing market with people that have problems that you have a chance of solving. That's it. Otherwise, don't be surprised that no one wants. Otherwise, don't be surprised that no one wants you. Otherwise, don't be surprised that nobody wants your pasta art or vegan mittens or chocolate furniture or whatever. That'd be pretty mad. Try not to build something no one wanted or asked for, but you will. We all have. I have multiple times. That is just part of the game, I think. Unfortunately, it's just how you explore creativity and the kind of commerciality of creativity in business. But just get used to killing it quick. There's no way around it. I think everyone has to go through a few of those duff ideas, but hopefully this video maybe minimizes the how long the list gets, let's say. Okay, next on the list is R, and R stands for run tests. Now, if you've had sustained curiosity, you've been able to stay curious about something, and you have then taken some risks, you've put yourself out there, you've tried a few ideas here and there, and then you've asked for help and you found some more things. People have put you on, like, oh no, don't do that, do this. Oh no, you actually, this is better, that's better. You found a few groups, you found a few communities, you found a few books, podcasts, whatever, a bit of media to help you through. Now, you should have enough, if you're still kind of fired up about it, to run some tests, right? This is all part of starting. Now, running tests, the best and easiest way to frame it is it's all about experiments. I think it was Nelson Mandela that said the phrase, you either win or you learn. Given his life, that's pretty profound to still come out with that. So definitely that is the mentality moving forward in this section that you want to have. So you want to almost expect everything to fail. Don't be attached to anything. Expect pivots. You want to just continually ask questions with action, meaning that you want to just run lots and lots of tests in the vague sort of way you want to go, the general direction of a specific goal, as you've probably heard me harp on a million times. So in this starting idea, to make it more tactical and operational, you want to basically do some MVPs or some V1s or some like lo-fi executions. What is the quickest, easiest way for you to make something, whatever you're making, and put it in front of somebody to get feedback, or to like put it in somewhere near the problem you're trying to solve to see what happens? Is it square peg round hole? Is it like, oh, that's a bit too, I need to sand off these edges, I need to add that bit, I need to do this, that, the other. Like, you just want to get data. Okay, so whatever you're building, especially in the beginning, speed is your advantage. Not just like in the market, but just speed for because it means you can't get too precious. It means like you want to have a bias towards action. I'm sure you've heard that before, but that essentially means that you just want to be moving and breaking things quickly rather than kind of sitting there and formulating all these ideas. Because you're running experiments, it means that some of them it's baked in that they will fail, or at least every single one will have something that doesn't go well. If you need something to help you, 60-30-10 is a good like framework I use. Like 60%, you're like, oh yeah, cool. I was happy with that. Like that was cool. I can look into that. 30% is like, well, maybe we try harder that, or that didn't really work, whatever. And 10% like that was total shite and I hate it. Look, it might be 80-20 when you start. It might be 70-30. I don't know. But like a good rule of thumb, especially commercially when you're executing stuff, 60% stuff really, really proud of. 30% would change. 10% hate it or would completely need 10 times the budget to make perfect. And that is just the way it is. If you can get to 80-20, great, but I'm still stuck in 60-30-10, and it's worked fine for me. Ultimately, we are looking for incremental gains. That is the goal here. We just want to progress in the general direction of the specific goal. For instance, if I showed you some of the first early decks that we were taking clients through at Sprint Department, you would laugh. You would fully laugh and throw biscuits at me. Like it would be, it's ridiculous from how far it's come. But obviously, you start from scratch. We just knew that we had to keep iterating in public. We had to keep going. So when you're running experiments, look for little flashes of data. If you're solving the problem, remember 4 L's that I harp on about, which is look at the data, listen to the customer, learn from the market, and most importantly, live the experience. Like what are those? How does that aggregate? What things can you plot? What things can you try different next time? It's a long process of iteration. And I would say just to the best way to do it, obviously do this in public. Iterating in public is a big value of Sprint Department and just how to approach creativity. There's no way to hide behind that, to be honest. If you think about comedian, how they write jokes, right? They literally iterate in public. Like all of it is in, they'll go in private, they'll have some ideas, but then it's in front of the audience, live on Channel 4, they're getting direct feedback, like, is this funny? And like, what if I tried this? What if I tried that? You want to approach things like that. What if I tried this bit? What if I switched that bit? What if I inverted that bit? What if when they got on the call, we did this? What if when we got off the call, we sent them that? What if this part of the system was fixed and that part was flexible? What if we built it on a sliding scale rather than a rigid kind of idea? What if we had, endless, keep going. What about this? What if? What about this? What if? That kind of stuff. So, what could you test right now, like by the end of the day? Interesting. What have you thought about? I'll probably do that now. Okay, and the final letter is T, and that stands for talk less, he says, uploading a 20-minute YouTube video. Okay, and the final letter is T, and that stands for talk less, he says, uploading a 20-minute talking head video. Twat. Okay, so talk less breaks down into 2 ideas that you might find useful. The first one, it may not be, I don't know how scientific it is, but essentially, don't talk about what you're doing. A big value of mine is to keep it private till it's permanent, because something seems to happen when you're down the pub or when you're at the party and you're talking about what you're going to do or what you're about to do. Almost that thinking of in the future is almost enough for you to kind of, it satiates you enough to not actually go and do it, or at least it takes the edge off it. Like I can't really explain it, but yeah, I've got a few mates like that as well. Like big dreamers, but it's very hard to motivate yourself once you've kind of got drunk on the potential of so many things. I could do this. Oh, I could do this. I could do that. I could do this. Obviously, you should be able to offload. You should be able to talk to your spouse or somebody. Hopefully you've got a co-founder, or hopefully you're in a community with people who are building similar things to you. Like I'm not saying like store it all up and don't talk about it, but talk less about what you're doing in public. Like keep it private till it's permanent. And just if you catch yourself doing that, it's usually because I'd say it's a form of procrastination, pontificating at the party. Rather than maybe not being at the party and actually doing the thing. Like it's that kind of discipline and sacrifice that will move the needle, and yabbering about it won't. Worst case, if for whatever reason you haven't got a community or you haven't got anyone to talk about what you're building, or no one is trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve where you are, then Claude, ChatGPT, and Grok are pretty good for that. Like you can get into pretty good arguments and kind of do some role playing and stuff. So it allows you to maybe offload a little bit. And just to know, I'm very guilty of this in the past. I think this is one of the reasons why I've been in my 20s, where I was quite, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I wanted the accolades before it was maybe my time, or before I'd put the effort in. Wanted the title before the work, let's say. So speaking from experience, definitely talk less. Okay, and the second part of talk less is very simply 2 ears, 1 mouth, which I love. Is a very simple analogy for that you should be doing twice as much listening as you are talking. And when I say listening, I would say that listening is also like learning, so absorbing. You can come up to speed on most topics pretty quickly. There's a phrase called immersion, brand immersion. We do that for clients. If you've worked if you've got a job, when they go and sit you down, you have to read like how the manual, and you have to watch the videos, and you go to all the things. That's basically a brand immersion, said differently, an onboarding process, some kind of I guess the older phrase would be like an indoctrination, but like it's a bad word, but like just a level of immersion where you just click in to the rules of the universe or the ecosystem that you're currently working in. So you just want to become an absolute sponge. Like you've got monk mode, you've got gorilla mode, whatever. You've got lion mode, warrior mode, whatever. How many modes? I would say sponge mode is my favorite mode when you're building something. And a way to easily immerse yourself is whatever you're trying to do, go and buy 2, 3, 4 books. Ask the internet to tell you what the best ones are. What are the best newsletters around the subject if you're into that? Like who are the biggest voices in the space? Just go and absolutely gorge on their stuff. Then you're just downloading information. And there comes a point. I've done it a few times when I've had to learn like little things, mostly in the business side of creativity, because obviously you come from the creative side. If you're creative, you have to learn a lot of business stuff, and you're like, at first you're like, huh? It's a bit of a schlep, and then you have to learn kind of the sales and marketing side of things, and you're like, okay, and then it eventually aggregates, and you start to like it. But that immersion period, if I do it as long as possible, but not so far that it feels like procrastination. Probably a week. Yeah, probably a week of absolutely living and breathing the subject, minimum. Obviously, you can go for forever, but I think a week and then take some action, like a little bit, would be great. Maybe if it's a deeper subject, maybe if you actually have to learn some hard skills like accounting or whatever, maybe that's a bit longer. But basically, everything is achievable in some format in 90 days. The reason why Y Combinator, I think they make their startup launch between 90 and 120 days. Like, there's a reason why all of the consulting jobs that I've done on in branding are usually between 30 days and 90 days, because in that you can move a lot of ground, enough to then go off and do it, and then wait for the results to trickle in, let's say. So but go full sponge mode. Is that a movement? Are we starting a movement? Maybe. And just to note, if you are seeking advice from people in the real world, so you're not reading books, make sure that you only ask for advice from people who have done what you're trying to do. Otherwise, they're just speculating, and you're currently speculating. So I would trust your speculation rather than theirs, because theirs will probably be negative and could dissuade you from doing it. So don't listen to them. Crack on. So to recap, if you want to start, an easy operational way to do it is to find something that you have stayed curious about, that you have the ability to have a prolonged curiosity about, that moves you in the direction that you're willing to take a tiny little bit of risk, a tiny bit of skin in the game, and do something in public that pushes you towards what you're kind of interested in. And then when you're doing that, once you've done a bit of that, you start asking for help, start learning about stuff, start reading books on the matter, and start kind of downloading. And then you want to run a series of tests, series of ideas, purely with the goal of just getting information, expecting well over 50%, if not 70%, if not 80% to fail. But then from there, you then come up with another idea, and off you go again. And all while, I would say, talking less. So definitely keep it private till it's permanent. So whilst you're doing all of this, I just wouldn't tell anybody in your immediate kind of life or circle. Obviously tell your spouse, whatever, but only talk to people who have your best interest at heart. Don't be mouthing off about what you're doing because, one, as we said, it'll feel good and it'll feel better than actually doing the work. And two, you might get some advice you don't want. And three, it's 2 ears, 1 mouth, so you should be being a sponge and you should be listening. And if you do all of that in that